Hello, my name is Jacob Blaisner, and this is my Running Rough video presentation. So, just a disclosure, I'm currently not flying in any multi-engine aircraft right now, so there are a shortage of instructors for multi-engine in my area, so unfortunately I haven't been able to get into the multi-engine aircraft. But VMC is its minimum controllable speed for the aircraft. VMC with the critical engine out is marked with the red radial lines on the airspeed indicator. So it has a indicator on the airspeed indication itself to tell you what VMC is. VMC only addresses directional control. For the VMC recovery, you need to feel the yaw of the aircraft, and then you need to lower the nose, pull back the power, accelerate the aircraft to the blue line on your airspeed indicator, and then you need to put 5 degrees of bank into the operating engine, or what you believe is the operating engine of the aircraft. So critical engine out procedure, rule number one, don't panic. A pilot needs to understand the situation and needs to keep a leveled head in a time of an emergency. Because whether it's just you on that aircraft or whether you have passengers, you're in control of that aircraft, and you have to remain calm in any situations and can't let your emotions overcome your abilities to fly the aircraft. So rule number one would be apply full power, move your mixtures where they need to be for the altitude you're at, and apply full throttle to get the engines running full blast. Then rule number two would be reduce your drag, raise the landing gear, retract the flaps, basically get as much drag off of the aircraft as possible. And then rule three is going to be identifying the failed engine. So the initial indication, the roller yaw of the aircraft would be towards the inoperative engine. So if it was your right engine that went out, then the aircraft's going to want to roll or yaw to that engine. Another way to, the primary indicator for figuring out which engine is inop would be your rudder pressure. So if the right engine's out, then you would be needing to put in a heavy right rudder to maintain, I think it's within 20 degrees of your original heading, to basically maintain the aircraft and continue to fly the aircraft in a coordinated manner. To continue on the engine out procedure, now you need to verify the failed engine and make sure that this engine is correct and that it is the inoperative engine. So you need to retract all throttle to the failed engine, and then the way you can tell if you have chosen the right engine that's inoperative, there will be no change in the amount of rudder pressure that you have, on the rudder. Because if you reduce that power and there is no change in that rudder pressure, then that engine that you just reduced the power to is already not producing power. So you really have to focus on your rudder pressures, because if you start pulling back the power and the engine starts to get uncoordinated, then you know that that engine is still operative and your other engine is not. Once you figure out which engine is the inoperative engine, you need to shut down the engine itself and feather the propeller. Now, once you've done all this, you need to follow the checklist. Throughout any procedure, you need to be confirming every single part of that maneuver with the checklist, whether you've memorized it or not. You need to follow the checklist. The checklist is everything, and it keeps you true to what you are supposed to be doing for that procedure. It makes sure that you follow every step and that you cross examine it. So you do the procedure and then you follow it up with the checklist. So you always check yourself on what you're doing to the aircraft and making sure that everything is going in order according to the checklist. And then once you've confirmed with the checklist, then you need to monitor the engine that is operating. So now you're one engine down, you have to make sure that that engine is operating to its full capabilities, because whenever you lose your critical engine, that's 50% of the power from the aircraft, but it's 80% of the performance of the aircraft. So whenever you lose an engine, it really impacts the way the aircraft performs significantly. So lastly, strategies and tips for if you have an engine out. You need to pitch you need to pitch correctly, and you need to trim for your best glide. So you get the maximum distance out of a no power scenario. It gives you your best glide. And then you need to know your altitude. So time available equals altitude times 2. So your altitude times 2 equals the time available you have in the air. Distance and time equals option. So the more time you have in the air means the more distance you're going to cover. And then that gives you more options for you to find an airport or land somewhere safely. It just gives you more options to conduct the flight complete and fully to the safest capability. Another equation is 1,000 feet equals 1.5 miles of glide. So for every 1,000 feet you are in the air, that's 1.5 miles of glide time that you have with the aircraft. Thank you very much.